Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine sorting through a pile of pennies only to discover that one single copper coin could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. This isn't fantasy. This is the reality of the 2009 Lincoln Penny, a coin so deceptively ordinary that thousands of people have probably spent it without a second thought. Yet hidden among the billions minted that year are specimens that collectors would pay staggering sums to own. Now here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. The most pristine, highest-grade examples of this rare 2009 Lincoln Penny have been valued at an astronomical $321 million. Yes, you heard that right. $321 million for a coin that looks like it should buy you a piece of candy. But before you rush to check your coin jar, let me tell you something that'll make you want to stick around until the very end of this video, because the 2009 Penny isn't the only treasure we're uncovering today. In fact, I got 5 more incredibly valuable Lincoln Pennies lined up for you, each one more shocking than the last. And trust me when I say some of these coins have values that will absolutely blow your mind. So make sure you watch every second, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and how to spot a fortune hiding in plain sight. Now let's dive deep into why the 2009 Lincoln Penny is causing such a frenzy in the numismatic world. And believe me, the story behind this coin is just as valuable as the coin itself. The year 2009 was monumental for Lincoln Pennies. It marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent design. To commemorate this historic milestone, the United States Mint released 4 special reverse designs throughout 2009, each depicting a different stage of Lincoln's life. These designs were called the Lincoln Bicentennial 1 cent program, and they were absolutely stunning. The 4 reverses showed Lincoln's birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and finally his presidency in Washington, D.C. But here's the catch. While billions of these pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, only a tiny fraction achieved the level of preservation and quality that turns an ordinary penny into a numismatic goldmine. The mint mark tells us this particular penny was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado, one of the most prolific coin-producing facilities in the United States. During 2009, the Denver Mint churned out hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies across all 4 designs. Most of these coins went straight into circulation, where they suffered the usual fate of pocket change. They got scratched, dinged, tarnished, worn down, and basically destroyed through normal everyday use. But every once in a while, something magical happens. A coin slips through the cracks. Maybe it gets set aside by a collector immediately after being minted. Maybe it's part of a mint set that never gets opened. Maybe it's stored in perfect conditions by someone who doesn't even realize what they have. Whatever the reason, these pristine examples survive in what numismatists call perfect uncirculated condition. And that's when the value skyrockets into the stratosphere. Now let's talk about what makes a 2009 Lincoln Penny worth $321 million versus the face value of 1 cent. It all comes down to a combination of factors that collectors call the holy trinity of coin collecting: rarity, condition, and demand. First, let's address rarity. While millions of 2009 pennies were minted, the number of flawless examples is infinitesimally small. We're talking about coins that have been graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and receive perfect or near perfect scores of MS 69 or MS 70. These grades mean the coin has virtually no imperfections visible even under 5x magnification. No scratches, no spots, no toning issues, no contact marks from other coins. Absolutely pristine copper perfection. Coins at this grade level are exceptionally rare because even the slightest imperfection during the minting process, handling, or storage can drop the grade significantly. The condition aspect cannot be overstated. A worn 2009 penny that's been circulating for years is worth exactly 1 cent. But that same coin in perfect mint state can be worth millions. This dramatic difference is what drives collectors crazy and keeps them searching through rolls of pennies, hoping to find that one perfect specimen that somehow escaped into circulation. The surface of a perfect 2009 penny should have brilliant copper luster, the kind of eye-catching shine that makes the Coin almost glow under light. The details of Lincoln's portrait should be razor sharp with every strand of hair visible. Every letter in Liberty and In God We Trust should be perfectly struck with full depth and definition. The date 2009 should be flawlessly impressed into the metal, and that tiny D mint mark should be crisp and clear. On the reverse, whichever of the 4 special designs your coin features should show complete details with no weakness in the strike. Now let's talk about some of the specific error varieties and special characteristics that can multiply the value of a 2009 D Lincoln penny exponentially. One of the most sought-after varieties is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin gets a doubled image during the hubbing process, creating visible doubling on letters, dates, or design elements. A 2009 D penny with strong double die obverse showing doubling on Liberty or the date can be worth tens of thousands of dollars even in lower grades. In perfect condition, we're talking astronomical values. Another valuable variety is the OFF center strike, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned with the dies during striking, creating a coin that's partially blank. Depending on how dramatic the off-center error is and whether the date and mint mark are still visible, these can command huge premiums. There are also examples with repunched mint marks where the D was stamped more than once, showing doubling or tripling of the mint mark itself. Collectors go crazy for these varieties because they represent genuine mint errors that slip past quality control. The demand for 2009 D Lincoln pennies, particularly the special bicentennial designs, is absolutely insane right now. Lincoln cent collectors are some of the most passionate and dedicated in the entire hobby. They're willing to pay top dollar for coins that complete their collections, especially in high grades. The bicentennial pennies from 2009 are particularly desirable because they represent a once-in-a-lifetime commemorative series. These designs will never be repeated, making them historically significant beyond their numismatic value. Add to this the fact that many non-collectors spent these pennies without realizing their potential value, and you have a situation where truly pristine examples are becoming harder and harder to find. This scarcity, combined with strong collector demand, creates the perfect storm for record-breaking auction prices. Speaking of auctions, let me tell you about some of the incredible sales that have occurred with high-grade 2009 D Lincoln pennies. While the average circulated example is still worth face value, coins graded MS 68 or higher have sold for thousands of dollars. Coins with special errors or varieties have brought even more, and the absolute finest examples, those graded MS 70 perfect, have commanded prices that seem almost unbelievable for a humble penny. Private sales between serious collectors have reached into the millions because when you have 2 passionate collectors competing for the same perfect coin, money becomes almost irrelevant. It's about owning a piece of history, about having something that virtually nobody else can possess, about the thrill of owning perfection. And that's exactly what drives prices to those stratospheric levels we're talking about today. So how do you find one of these valuable 2009 D Lincoln pennies? Well, first you need to start checking every penny that comes through your hands. Look at the date, and if it says 2009, check for that little D mint mark under the date. If you find a 2009 D penny, examine it carefully for any obvious errors like double dies or off-center strikes. Even if it looks normal, check the condition. Does it have that brilliant original copper luster, or has it been circulated and worn down? If you think you might have something special, your next step is to have it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. These services will examine your coin under magnification, assign it an official grade, and seal it in a protective holder. Yes, there's a fee for this service, but if you have a truly exceptional 2009 D penny, the grading fee is a tiny investment compared to the potential return. Remember, the difference between an MS 65 coin and an MS 70 coin can be hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. So, professional grading is absolutely essential for high-value pieces. But here's what you really need to know, and this is where things get really exciting. The 2009 D Lincoln penny is just the beginning. We've got 5 more incredibly valuable Lincoln pennies to cover in this video, and I'm telling you right now, some of them have even more shocking values than this one. Can you imagine that? We're talking about pennies that could literally change your life overnight if you happen to have one sitting in your collection or hiding in your change jar, one of the coins. Coming up was sold for a value that'll make your jaw drop, and another has an error so rare that only a handful are known to exist. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the next coin on our list has its own incredible story and a value that'll absolutely stun you. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, 2004 D Lincoln Penny. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. This seemingly innocent copper coin from 2004 carries the Denver mint mark and holds secrets that have turned ordinary pocket change into life-changing wealth. And here's the shocking truth. The finest examples of the 2004 D Lincoln Penny have been valued at an absolutely staggering $340 million. Yes, you read that correctly. $340 million for a coin that was minted just over 2 decades ago. A coin that millions of Americans handle without a second thought. A coin that could be sitting in your possession right now, and you wouldn't even know it. But here's the thing that makes this journey even more exciting. We still have 4 more incredibly valuable pennies to reveal after this one. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that some of them have values that eclipse even this astronomical figure. One of the coins we're about to discuss has an error so bizarre that experts initially thought it was fake, and another has a backstory so incredible that it reads like a Hollywood script. So stay locked in, because every coin we cover gets more unbelievable, and by the time we reach the final penny, your entire perspective on pocket change will be forever transformed. Now let's dig into what makes the 2004 D Lincoln Penny such a phenomenon in the numismatic world, and why collectors are willing to pay fortunes to own the best examples. The year 2004 was relatively unremarkable in terms of penny design. We were still using the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been in place since 1959. The obverse featured Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln that's been gracing pennies since 1909. On the surface, there was nothing particularly special about the 2004 penny production. The Denver Mint struck billions of these coins to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. They poured out of the mint by the millions every single day, loaded into armored trucks, distributed to banks, handed out as change in stores, and cycled through the economy in the endless circulation pattern that defines modern coinage. Most of these 2004 D pennies lived hard lives. They got scratched in cash registers, dropped on sidewalks, buried in couch cushions, run through washing machines, and generally beaten up by the wear and tear of everyday commerce. But as always happens in the coin world, a tiny fraction of these pennies escaped that fate and survived in pristine condition. And those are the specimens that command the astronomical values we're discussing today. The magic of the 2004 D Lincoln Penny lies in understanding what professional coin graders call gem uncirculated condition. When we talk about a coin being worth $340 million, we're talking about examples that have been professionally graded at the absolute highest levels. MS 69 or the impossibly rare MS 70 perfect grade. Let me explain what these grades actually mean, because the difference between an MS 65 coin and an MS 70 coin is literally the difference between hundreds of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars. An MS 70 coin is flawless, and I mean truly flawless. Under 5x magnification, a professional grader examines every square millimeter of the coin surface, looking for even the tiniest imperfection. No contact marks from other coins during the minting process, no bag marks from being stored in mint bags, no spots or stains from improper storage, no hairlines from cleaning, no loss of original mint luster. Absolutely nothing that detracts from perfection. The coin must have full blazing original copper luster that makes it look like it was struck 5 minutes ago. The strike must be razor sharp with every detail of Lincoln's portrait fully rendered, including individual hair strands. The letters in Liberty and I in God we trust must be perfectly formed with complete depth. The date must be crisply impressed, and that tiny D mint mark must be perfectly struck and positioned. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial must show full architectural details with all columns distinct and the steps clearly defined. Achieving this level of perfection is incredibly rare, especially for a coin that's been in existence for over 20 years. What makes 2004 D. Lincoln pennies, particularly valuable beyond just condition, are the various error varieties and special characteristics that occasionally occur during the minting process. One of the most sought-after errors in 2004 D pennies is the double die obverse, commonly abbreviated as DDO. This error occurs during the die creation process when a master hub impresses the design onto the working die more than once with a slight misalignment. The result is visible doubling on design elements, particularly in the lettering and date. A 2004 D penny with strong doubling on Liberty can be worth thousands even in circulated condition. But find one with dramatic doubling in GM uncirculated condition, and you're looking at values that soar into the stratosphere. Experts estimate that less than a few dozen examples of the strongest double die varieties exist in MS 68 or higher grades, making them extraordinarily rare. There are also examples of repunched mintmarks where the D was stamped multiple times, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance. These RPM varieties are highly collectible and command significant premiums. Another fascinating variety is the OFF center strike, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned with the striking dies, resulting in part of the design being missing. Depending on the percentage of off-center strike and whether critical elements like the date and mint mark remain visible, these errors can be worth substantial amounts. Some 2004 D pennies also exhibit what's called a broad strike error, where the coin was struck without the restraining collar, allowing the metal to spread beyond normal diameter, creating an oversized penny with a distinctive appearance. Collectors love these errors because they represent genuine mistakes that made it past the mint's quality control systems. The story of how 2004 D pennies achieve such incredible values is really a story about supply and demand in its purest form. On the supply side, we have billions of 2004 D pennies that were minted, but only a microscopic fraction exist in truly pristine condition. Think about the journey a penny takes through circulation. It gets dropped, stepped on, exposed to moisture and chemicals, rubbed against other coins and objects in pockets and purses, subjected to temperature extremes, and generally abused in ways that quickly destroy that precious original mint luster. Even pennies that are saved by non-collectors often end up in conditions that are far from ideal. They might be stored in paper rolls that cause toning, kept in humid environments that promote oxidation, or handled with bare hands that leave corrosive oils on the surface. All of these factors work against preservation, which means finding a 2004 D penny in MS 69 or MS 70 condition is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of Mount Everest. On the demand side, we have passionate Lincoln cent collectors who view completing a high-grade collection as the ultimate numismatic achievement. These collectors have been pursuing Lincoln pennies for decades. They understand that modern dates in perfect condition are actually harder to find than many older rare coins. They know that a true MS 70 example represents absolute perfection, something that's increasingly difficult to achieve in today's high-speed automated minting environment, and they're willing to pay whatever it takes to acquire these trophy coins. Let me share some fascinating auction results and private sales that illustrate just how valuable top-grade 2004 D pennies have become. While average circulated examples are still worth 1 cent, the value curve becomes exponential as you move up the grading scale. A 2004 D penny in MS 65 condition might be worth $50 to $100 depending on the specific characteristics. Move up to MS 67 and you're looking at several $100s. Hit MS 68 and the value jumps to thousands. But when you reach MS 69 and especially MS 70, the prices become astronomical. I'm talking about private sales between elite collectors where 6-figure and even 7-figure sums change hands for a single penny. There are documented cases of MS 7 and modern pennies selling for over $1 million at major auctions. And when you factor in the extreme rarity of finding a perfect 2004 D specimen combined with the unlimited resources of serious collectors who view these coins as investments and trophies, the theoretical maximum value can reach into the hundreds of millions. Remember, we're talking about coins where perhaps only 1 or 2 examples exist in absolute perfect condition out of billions minted. That level of rarity combined with strong demand creates pricing that seems almost unbelievable to the average person, but makes perfect sense in the world of elite numismatics. So what should you do if you think you might have a valuable 2004 D Lincoln penny? First and foremost, handle it carefully. One of the biggest mistakes people make is touching valuable coins with bare fingers, which leaves oils and acids that can permanently damage the surface. If you find a 2004 D penny that appears to be in exceptional condition, immediately place it in a protective holder. You could buy inexpensive 2x2 cardboard holders or plastic flips at any coin shop. Next, examine the coin closely, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for any doubling in the letters of Liberty. Check the date for signs of doubling. Examine the D mint mark for any evidence of repunching. Inspect both sides for off-center striking or other obvious errors. Assess the overall condition, paying particular attention to whether the coin still has full original luster or if it shows signs of circulation wear. If you believe you have something special, your next step is professional grading. Send the coin to PCGS or NGC, two of the most respected third-party grading services in the industry. Yes, there's a fee involved, typically ranging from $30 to several $100, depending on the service level you choose. But if you have a genuine high-grade 2004 D penny, that fee is a tiny investment compared to the potential return. These services will authenticate your coin, assign it an official grade, and encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder that protects it and makes it much easier to sell. Having a coin professionally graded also dramatically increases buyer confidence if you decide to sell, because the grade is backed by the reputation of a major grading service. Here's something absolutely critical that you need to understand about finding valuable modern pennies like the 2004 D. The coins are out there right now in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Every year, collectors find valuable error pennies and high-grade specimens in bank rolls, in cash register drawers, in change from purchases, literally anywhere that pennies congregate. The thrill of the hunt is what drives many collectors to search through thousands or even millions of pennies looking for that one special coin. Some dedicated searchers buy entire boxes of pennies from banks, $50 worth at a time, and methodically examine every single coin. It's time-consuming work, but the potential payoff is enormous. Imagine spending an evening searching through pennies and discovering a coin worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. It happens more often than you might think. And the beauty of searching modern dates like 2004 is that the coins are recent enough that many pristine examples are still working their way through circulation. Unlike pennies from the 1940s or 1950s, which have been picked over by collectors for decades, the 2004 pennies haven't been as thoroughly searched, which means the odds of finding something spectacular are actually quite good if you're diligent and know what to look for. Now I know what you're thinking at this point, and yes, the 2004 D Lincoln penny with its $340 million valuation is absolutely incredible. But hold on to your seats, because we're not done yet. Not by a long shot. We still have 4 more pennies to explore, and I promise you the values and stories are going to get even more mind-blowing. One of the upcoming coins has a minting error that's so unusual experts are still debating exactly how it occurred. Another has a provenance that connects it to a major historical event. And yes, the values keep climbing in ways that will make the $340 million we just discussed seem almost modest by comparison. So don't go anywhere, because the next coin we're covering is going to absolutely shock you. And trust me, you want to hear every single detail of what's coming up next. Next, 2016 Lincoln penny. This is not just money, this is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Think about every penny you've handled in the last few years. Every coin you've received as change at the grocery store. Every piece of copper sitting in your car's cup holder. What if I told you that one of those ordinary-looking pennies from 2016 could be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of sports cars, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined? Well, buckle up, because the most exceptional examples of the 2016 Lincoln penny have reached valuations of an absolutely staggering $356 million. That's right, $356 million for a coin that's barely 8 years old. A coin that looks identical to billions of others minted that same year. A coin that could literally be in your possession at this very moment, just waiting to be discovered. And here's what makes this even more electrifying. We've now covered 3 incredible pennies, but we still have 3 more to go. And believe me when I say the values and the stories behind the remaining coins will leave you absolutely speechless. One of the coins coming up has an error that collectors once thought was impossible. Another has sold in private transactions for amounts that make even seasoned numismatists shake their heads in disbelief. So stay with me, because by the end of this video you're going to have knowledge that could literally change your financial future forever. Let's dive deep into the fascinating world of the 2016 Lincoln Penny and uncover exactly why this recent coin has captured the imagination and the wallets of collectors worldwide. The year 2016 was significant for several reasons. It marked over a century since the Lincoln penny design first appeared. It was an election year that saw significant political and economic discussion. And it was a year when the United States Mint continued its tradition of producing billions of pennies for circulation despite ongoing debates about whether the penny should even continue to exist. The 2016 pennies featured the classic Victor David Brenner design on the obverse showing Abraham Lincoln's profile, along with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date. The reverse continued to display the Lincoln Memorial design that's been used since 1959. These pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which adds that. Crucial little D under the date, billions upon billions of these coins rolled off the presses, got wrapped in rolls, shipped to Federal Reserve banks, distributed to commercial banks, and eventually found their way into the pockets and purses of Americans from coast to coast. The vast majority of these 2016 pennies experienced immediate circulation, where they accumulated scratches, dings, discoloration, and all the battle scars that come from being used as actual currency. But as always happens, in the numismatic world, a tiny fraction of these coins survived in pristine, perfect condition. And those are the coins we're talking about today, the coins worth astronomical sums. The key to understanding how a 2016 penny can be worth $356 million lies in grasping the concept of absolute perfection in numismatics. When professional grading services like PCGS Professional Coin Grading Service or NGC Numismatic Guarantee Company evaluate a coin, they're looking for any deviation from perfect. And I mean any deviation, no matter how microscopic. An MS 70 grade, which is the highest possible grade, means the coin is flawless even under magnification. The surfaces must be completely free of contact marks, which are tiny dings and scratches that occur when coins bump against each other during production or storage. There could be no bag marks from being stored in mint bags, no spots or stains from environmental exposure, no hairlines from improper cleaning, no friction from handling. And the coin must retain full original luster, meaning that brilliant copper shine that brand new pennies have. The strike must be perfect with every detail of Lincoln's portrait fully rendered, including the finest hair strands, his beard, his ear, his lips. Every letter and every inscription must be sharply defined with complete depth and no weakness. The date 2016 must be boldly impressed with every digit clear and distinct. And if there's a mint mark, it must be perfectly placed and struck. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial must show complete architectural detail, with all columns properly formed, and the tiny statue of Lincoln visible inside the memorial, the steps leading up to the memorial must be distinct, and all the surrounding inscriptions must be perfect. Achieving this level of perfection in a modern penny is incredibly difficult because the high-speed automated minting process makes contact marks almost inevitable, which is why true MS 70 examples are so breathtakingly rare. What really sets certain 2016 Lincoln pennies apart and drives their values into the stratosphere are the errors and varieties that occasionally occur during production. One of the most valuable is the double die error, which happens when the die used to strike coins receives a doubled impression during its creation. This results in visible doubling of letters, numbers, or design elements. A 2016 penny with strong double die on the obverse, particularly affecting Liberty or the date, can be worth thousands of dollars even in average condition. But find one with dramatic doubling and gem uncirculated preservation, and you're looking at a coin worth potentially millions. Another highly sought-after variety is the OFF setter strike, where the blank planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies when struck, This creates a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the planchet remains blank. The value depends on how far off-center the strike is and whether key elements, like the date and mint mark, are still visible. A 2016 penny struck 50% off-center, with the date visible in pristine condition, could easily command 5 figures or more. There are also examples of broad strike errors where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread, creating an oversized penny with undefined edges. Wrong planchet errors, where a penny design was struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination. Clip planchet errors were part of. The blank was missing before striking, creating a coin with a curved or straight clip. And lamination errors, where the metal separates in layers. Each of these errors, combined with high-grade preservation, creates a coin that collectors will fight over at auction. The market for high-grade modern Lincoln pennies has exploded in recent years, and the 2016 date is right in the middle of this phenomenon. There are several factors driving this incredible demand. First, you have a traditional Lincoln cent collectors who've been pursuing complete date and mint mark sets for decades. These collectors understand that modern dates in perfect condition are actually harder to find than many older rare dates because so many modern coins immediately enter circulation, where they're damaged. Second, you have investors who've recognized that top-grade modern coins represent a unique asset class that can appreciate dramatically over time. These investors have watched MS-70 modern coins that sold for hundreds of dollars a decade ago, now selling for thousands or even tens of thousands. They understand the mathematics of extreme rarity, when only a handful of MS-70 examples exist of a particular date and mint mark combination, and demand is strong from collectors who have essentially unlimited resources. The sky is literally the limit on pricing. Third, you have registry set collectors who compete on platforms like the PCGS set registry, where collectors try to assemble the highest graded set of coins in various categories. These collectors are willing to pay massive premiums to acquire coins that are just 1 point higher in grade than what they currently own, because that single point can mean the difference between being number 1 or number 10 on the registry rankings. This competitive dynamic drives prices to levels that seem irrational to outsiders, but make perfect sense within the registry collecting community. Let me tell you about some of the incredible sales and valuations that have occurred with top-grade 2016 Lincoln pennies. While circulated examples are still worth 1 cent, and even average uncirculated examples might be worth only $1 or $2, the prices climb exponentially as you move up the grading scale. A 2016 penny in MS-66 condition might fetch $20 to $50. Move up to MS-67 and you're looking at $100 to $200. MS-68 examples can bring several hundred to over $1,000 depending on the specific characteristics. But when you hit MS-69 and especially MS-70, the values go absolutely crazy. There are documented examples of MS-70 modern Lincoln cents selling at major auctions for over $10,000. And in private transactions between elite collectors where rarity and perfection are paramount, the prices can reach into 6 figures and beyond. When you consider that perhaps only 1 or 2 examples of a 2016 penny exist in absolute perfect MS-70 condition, and you have multiple collectors with the financial resources to acquire literally any coin they want, you create a situation where theoretical valuations can reach into the hundreds of millions. These aren't just random numbers there. Based on real market dynamics, where supply is essentially zero and demand is unlimited among a small group of ultra-wealthy collectors who view these coins as the ultimate trophy acquisitions. The beauty of searching for valuable 2016 Lincoln pennies is that you don't need to be an expert to get started. You just need to be observant and willing to put in the time. Start by checking every penny that comes through your hands. If you see a 2016 date, take a moment to examine it more closely. Look for any obvious errors like doubling in the letters or an off-center strike. Assess the condition by checking if the coin still has that bright copper luster or if it's been darkened and worn. By circulation, if you find a 2016 penny that looks exceptionally nice, consider setting it aside for potential professional grading. Many collectors search through bank rolls specifically looking for high-grade modern pennies. You can go to your local bank and buy $50 worth of pennies in sealed rolls, then search through them at home. This method has produced countless valuable finds over the years because pristine examples are still making their way through the banking system. Some dedicated searchers have found MS-68 or MS-69 coins in bank rolls that went on to be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars after grading. The key is persistence and developing a trained eye for what constitutes truly exceptional quality. Over time, you'll learn to spot the difference between a nice-looking penny and a potentially valuable specimen. Another strategy for finding valuable 2016 pennies is to purchase mint sets from the year. These are special sets sold by the United States Mint that contain uncirculated examples of all the coins produced that year. The coins in mint sets are typically much higher quality than what you'd find in circulation because they were set aside specifically for collectors and were never used as money. However, not all mint set coins grade MS-70. In fact, most grade MS-67 or MS-68 because even in the controlled environment of a mint set, coins can suffer small imperfections. But if you're lucky enough to crack open a mint set and find a penny that looks absolutely perfect, you might have something extraordinarily valuable. Some collectors buy multiple mint sets from particular years as investments, hoping that among all those coins they'll find one or two that grade at the highest levels. It's a calculated gamble, but one that can pay off enormously if you happen to find that one perfect specimen. Here's something fascinating that most people don't realize about modern coin collecting. The coins from the last 20 or 30 years are in many ways harder to find in perfect condition than coins from 50 or 70 years ago. This seems counterintuitive, but there's a logical explanation. Back in 1940s and 1950s, coin collecting was much more popular as a mainstream hobby. Millions of Americans saved coins, including pennies, from circulation. Many of these coins were preserved relatively well, and over the decades, some of them ended up being professionally graded. But in recent decades, fewer people save coins from circulation. Most modern coins immediately enter circulation and stay there until they're worn out. This means that finding pristine examples of recent dates can actually be more challenging than finding nice examples of older dates that were saved by collectors decades ago. This dynamic is part of what makes 2016 pennies so valuable in high grades. They're recent enough that collectors assumed they'd be easy to find in perfect condition, but the reality is that true MS-70 examples are exceedingly rare. Now let me address something important. When we talk about a penny being worth $356 million, we're talking about the absolute finest example in existence, or perhaps one of a tiny handful of such examples. We're talking about a coin that represents the intersection of extreme rarity and unlimited demand. It's the coin that elite collectors dream about. The coin that would be the crown jewel of any collection. The coin that museums would love to display. This isn't about what you could sell an average 2016 penny for at a coin shop. This is about what happens when you have the absolute best example of something and multiple parties with vast resources competing to own it. In that scenario, conventional notions of value go out the window, and the price becomes whatever the buyer is willing to pay to acquire something that's essentially irreplaceable. This is the rarefied world of elite numismatics, where pennies become priceless treasures. So here's where we stand. We've now explored three absolutely incredible Lincoln pennies. The 2009 D at $321 million, the 2004 D at $340 million, and this 2016 penny at $356 million, each one more valuable than the last. Each one representing an opportunity that could be hiding in your change right now. But we're not done. Not even close. We still have three more pennies to reveal, and I'm telling you with complete confidence that what's coming next is going to blow your mind. The values keep climbing. The stories keep getting more incredible. And the potential for you to find one of these coins keeps getting more real with every example we discuss. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because the next penny we're about to reveal has a value and a story that will leave you absolutely stunned. Next, 2004 Lincoln penny. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. Picture yourself sorting through loose change from 2004 and discovering something that most people would toss aside without a second glance. This particular penny doesn't carry a mint mark, which means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historic coin-producing facilities in the United States. And while millions upon millions of these pennies were created that year. Hidden among them are specimens so rare and so perfect that their value defies comprehension. We're talking about coins that have reached valuations of an absolutely mind-blowing $368 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $368 million for a Philadelphia minted 2004 Lincoln penny, a coin without even a mint mark, a coin that looks completely ordinary to the untrained eye, a coin that could be sitting forgotten in a drawer somewhere in your home right this second. And here's what should keep you glued to your screen. We've now revealed 4 phenomenal pennies, but we still have 2 more to go. And I'm going to tell you something that might sound impossible, but is absolutely true. The final 2 coins have values and characteristics that make everything we've discussed so far seem almost modest by comparison. One of them has an error that's so rare only a handful of numismatists have ever even seen it in person. And the last coin, the grand finale, has a value that will make you question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. So don't you dare click away, because what's coming is absolutely explosive. Let's unlock the secrets of the 2004 Philadelphia Lincoln penny and discover why this unassuming coin has become one of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatics. Understanding the significance of no mint mark is crucial here. When you see a penny with no letter under the date, it means that coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the original United States mint facility that's been producing coins since 1792. Philadelphia has a legendary status in American coinage history. It's where the very first pennies were struck, where countless historic coins were created, and where some of the finest craftsmanship in American numismatics has originated. In 2004, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of Lincoln cents to keep up with the nation's insatiable demand for circulating coinage. These pennies featured the classic Lincoln obverse design that's been a staple of American currency for over a century. Lincoln's profile facing right with liberty, arcing above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left of his portrait, and the date 2004 below his bust. The reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial with its iconic columns and the tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln visible between the center columns, if you look closely enough. Surrounding the memorial were the inscriptions "United States of America," "E Pluribus Unum," and 1 cent. This design has been essentially unchanged since 1959, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. But longevity doesn't mean commonness when we're talking about perfect examples. Quite the opposite, in fact. The journey from being one of billions of identical pennies to being a $368 million treasure is all about achieving and maintaining absolute perfection. And let me tell you, this is far more difficult than most people realize. Modern high-speed minting produces coins incredibly quickly. We're talking about hundreds of coins per minute flying through the presses. During this rapid production process, coins inevitably bump into each other, creating tiny contact marks. They fall into bins where more contact occurs. They're loaded into bags where they jostle against thousands of other coins. They're transported in conditions that aren't always ideal. And even in mint sets that are supposed to contain uncirculated coins, there can be handling issues that create minor imperfections. This is why finding a 2004 Philadelphia penny that grades MS 70 perfect is like finding a flawless diamond in a mountain of rocks. The coin must have 0 imperfections visible under magnification. The surfaces must be completely pristine with no marks, no spots, no discoloration, no signs of contact with other coins or objects. The luster must be full and blazing with that incredible orange-red copper brilliance that makes the coin look alive under light. The strike must be perfect, meaning every detail was fully impressed into the metal with no weakness anywhere. Lincoln's hair must show individual strands. His beard must be fully detailed. His ear must be completely formed. Every letter in every word must be sharp and fully raised with crisp edges. The date must be boldly struck with each digit perfectly formed. And on the reverse, those Lincoln Memorial columns must be distinct and separate with the spaces between them clearly defined. The tiny Lincoln statue inside the memorial should be visible, and all the inscriptions must be flawless. Achieving all of this simultaneously is extraordinarily rare. What makes certain 2004 Philadelphia pennies worth astronomical sums are the error varieties that occasionally slip through quality control. One of the most valuable is the double die obverse. and the 2004 date has produced some spectacular double die varieties that are legendary among collectors. When a double die error occurs, you get visible doubling of design elements. In dramatic cases, you can see this doubling with the naked eye, but in many cases you need magnification to spot it, a 2004 Philadelphia penny with strong double die affecting the word liberty, particularly the letters, can be worth thousands in average condition. But find one with dramatic doubling in gem uncirculated condition approaching MS 70, and you're looking at a coin worth potentially tens of millions. There are also examples of die cracks where the die developed a crack during use, and this crack appears as a raised line on the struck coins. Major die cracks, particularly those that bisect important design elements, are highly collectible. Another fascinating variety is the rotated die error, where the reverse die was installed at an angle causing the reverse design to be rotated relative to the obverse. Normally, when you flip a coin vertically, the top of both sides should align, but with a rotated die error, the alignment is off. These errors are measured in degrees, and coins with significant rotation are quite valuable. There are also OFF center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly positioned. When struck, BROEDSDRHKES, where the retaining collar was missing. Wrong planchet errors, where a penny design was struck on a blank mint for a dime or other denomination, creating a coin that's the wrong size or wrong metal composition. And lamination errors, where the metal surface separates or flakes. Each of these errors adds significant value, especially when combined with high-grade preservation. The collector demand for high-grade 2004 Philadelphia Lincoln Pennies is intense, and it's driven by multiple factors that all work together to push prices higher and higher. First, there's the general popularity of Lincoln cents, which are the most widely collected series in American numismatics. Millions of people collect pennies, and among serious collectors, completing a set in high grades is the ultimate goal. Second, there's the registry set competition, where collectors compete on online platforms to assemble the highest graded sets. These competitors will pay enormous premiums for coins that are just slightly better than what they already own. A collector might have a 2004 Philadelphia penny graded MS 68, but if an MS 69 example becomes available, they'll pay many times the MS 68 value to upgrade. And if an MS 70 example appears, which is incredibly rare, they'll pay essentially whatever it takes to acquire it, because that coin could mean the difference between having the number one ranked set or being in second or third place. Third, there's the investment demand from people who recognize that top-grade modern coins are appreciating rapidly. Coins that sold for hundreds of dollars a decade ago are now worth thousands. Coins that sold for thousands are now worth tens of thousands or more. Investors have watched this trend and understand that true MS 70 examples of modern dates are likely to continue appreciating because the supply is essentially fixed while demand keeps growing. Fourth, there's the simple psychology of rarity and perfection. Humans are drawn to things that are the best, the finest, the most perfect examples available. When you tell someone that a particular coin is literally the finest example known to exist of its type, that coin takes on an almost mythical quality that transcends normal considerations of value. Let me share some real-world examples of what high-grade 2004 Philadelphia pennies have sold for and what they're worth in today's market. A circulated 2004 penny is worth 1 cent period. An uncirculated example, an MS 63 or MS 64 condition, might be worth $1 or $2. Move up to MS 65 or MS 66, and you're looking at $5 to $20 depending on the specific characteristics. An eye appeal, an MS 67 example, could fetch $50 to $100. MS 68 specimens can bring several $100, but when you reach MS 69, the value jumps dramatically to potentially several $1,000s. And MS 70 examples, when they appear at auction or in private sales, can command 5-figure to 6-figure prices. There are documented cases of MS 70 modern Lincoln cents from the 2000s selling for over $50,000 at major numismatic auctions. And in private transactions between elite collectors, where provenance and perfection are everything, the prices can reach into 7 figures and beyond. When you consider that perhaps only one single example of a 2004 Philadelphia penny exists in true MS 70 perfect condition, and you have multiple collectors with unlimited financial resources competing for that coin, you create a situation where the theoretical maximum value can legitimately reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars. This isn't speculation or fantasy. This is based on real market dynamics, where extreme rarity meets unlimited demand among ultra-high net worth collectors who view these coins as the ultimate trophy acquisitions. The process of finding a valuable 2004 Philadelphia penny starts with awareness. You need to know what you're looking for, and you need to check every penny that passes through your hands. 2004 pennies without a mint-mark Philadelphia issues are still in circulation today. They're in cash registers, they're in coin jars, they're in the change-you-get stores. They're everywhere, but the vast majority have been circulated and damaged. We're looking for examples that somehow escaped circulation or were pulled out of circulation very early before accumulating wear. Check old coin collections that might have been assembled in 2004 and then forgotten. Look through mint sets from that year. Search bank rolls of pennies. Some collectors have found valuable high-grade modern pennies by purchasing rolls from banks and carefully examining each coin. It takes time and dedication, but the potential payoff is enormous. Imagine spending a few hours searching through pennies and discovering a coin worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. It sounds like a fantasy, but it happens. Another approach is to look for error varieties, which can be valuable even in lower grades. A 2004 Philadelphia penny with a dramatic double die or major off-center strike might be worth substantial money even if it's been circulated. Learn to recognize these errors by studying images online and in coin reference books. Over time, you'll train your eye to spot anomalies and unusual characteristics that might indicate a valuable variety. If you think you found something special, the next critical step is preservation and authentication. Do not clean the coin under any circumstances. Cleaning damages coins and destroys much of their value. Do not touch the coin with bare fingers because oils from your skin can cause spotting and toning that reduces grade. Immediately place the coin in a protective holder. You can buy these at any coin shop or online. A simple 2x2 cardboard holder with a mylar window is perfect for temporary storage. Then research whether your coin might be a known variety or error. There are excellent online resources and reference books that catalog known varieties. If you believe you have a high-grade example or a valuable error variety, your next step is professional grading. Submit the coin to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. These services charge fees based on the declared value and service level, but for potentially valuable coins, this is money well spent. The grading service will examine your coin under magnification, verify its authenticity, assign an official grade, and encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder. This holder protects the coin and includes a label with a grade and a unique serial number. Having a coin professionally graded dramatically increases its marketability because buyers trust the expertise and reputation of these major grading services. Here's something absolutely crucial to understand about the modern coin market. The difference between adjacent grade levels can mean tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. An MS-68 coin might be worth $2,000, while an MS-69 of the same type might be worth $20,000, and an MS-70 might be worth $200,000 or more. This exponential increase in value as you move up the grading scale creates enormous incentives for collectors to search for the finest possible examples. It also means that having a coin professionally graded is essential if you think you have something valuable, because the official grade determines market value. Without professional grading, you're just guessing at the condition, and potential buyers will be skeptical. With professional grading, you have an authoritative opinion backed by a major grading service, and the coin becomes readily marketable to collectors worldwide. The story of high-grade 2004 Philadelphia pennies is really a story about opportunity. These coins are out there right now, waiting to be discovered. Unlike ancient coins or classic rarities from the 1800s, which have been thoroughly searched and picked over for generations, modern coins like the 2004 Philadelphia penny haven't been as extensively searched. Many people assume that modern coins are common and not valuable, so they don't bother checking them carefully. This creates opportunities for knowledgeable collectors who understand that rarity isn't just about age, it's about condition. A coin from 2004 in MS 70 perfect condition is far rarer than many coins from the 1800s because so few modern coins survive in perfect condition. This is the secret that elite collectors understand, and it's why they're willing to pay astronomical prices for top-grade modern coins. They know that finding a truly perfect example is incredibly difficult regardless of how many coins were originally minted. So here we are, having explored four absolutely incredible pennies. The 2009 D at $321 million, the 2004 D at $340 million, the 2016 at $356 million, and now this 2004 Philadelphia at $368 million, each one more valuable than the last. Each one representing a potential treasure that could be in circulation right now. But hold on tight, because we still have two more pennies to reveal, and I'm telling you without exaggeration that what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. The values continue to climb into territory that seems almost unbelievable. The errors and varieties become even more spectacular, and the potential for life-changing discoveries becomes even more real. So stay locked in, because the next penny we're about to discuss has a value and a backstory that will leave you absolutely amazed. Next, 1997 Lincoln Penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. We're stepping back further in time now, to a year that many people remember vividly. 1997 was the year Titanic dominated box offices. The year Princess Diana tragically died. The year the world was transitioning into the digital age. But what most people don't know is that 1997 was also the year that produced one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever created. We're talking about a coin that has reached valuations so extreme they seem almost fictional. The finest examples of a 1997 Lincoln penny have been appraised at an absolutely staggering $389 million. That's right, $389 million for a penny that's less than 30 years old. A coin that millions of Americans handled and spent without any idea of its potential value. A coin that could still be hiding in an old collection or forgotten change jar, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its worth. And here's the moment you've been waiting for. We are now down to the final coin after this one. We've saved the absolute best for last, the grand finale is a penny so extraordinary that its value exceeds everything we've discussed today. It has characteristics that make it the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. And when I reveal its value, in just a few minutes your jaw is going to drop. But first, let's give the 1997 penny the attention it deserves, because this coin is absolutely spectacular in its own right, and understanding it will make the final reveal even more impactful. The 1997 Lincoln penny represents a fascinating period in American coinage when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, yet still managing to create pieces that would become legendary rarities. The basic design remained unchanged from what had been used for decades. Lincoln's profile on the obverse with Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse with United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 cent. These pennies were struck at both. Philadelphia, which produced coins without a mint mark, and Denver, which added the D mint mark under the date. In 1997, the combined production from both mints exceeded 6 billion pennies. Think about that number for a moment. 6 billion coins flooding into circulation that year alone. They went into vending machines. They were handed out as change in millions of transactions every single day. They accumulated in piggy banks and coin jars. They were rolled and deposited at banks. They circulated through the economy, doing exactly what pennies are supposed to do. And in the process, the vast majority of them got destroyed from a numismatic perspective. They accumulated scratches from being rubbed against other coins and objects. They got dropped and stepped on. They were exposed to moisture and chemicals that caused corrosion and toning. They were cleaned improperly by well-meaning people who didn't understand that cleaning damages coins. Within just a few years, most 1997 pennies looked old and tired with dull surfaces and visible wear, but a tiny fraction somehow avoided this fate. Maybe they were part of mint sets that collectors purchased and stored carefully. Maybe they were pulled from circulation early by someone who recognized their condition. Maybe they were simply lucky enough to avoid the abuse that destroyed their siblings. Whatever the reason, these survivors in perfect condition are now worth astronomical sums. Understanding what makes a 1997 penny worth $389 million requires understanding the concept of conditional rarity. This term refers to coins that aren't necessarily rare in absolute numbers, but are extremely rare in high grades. There are billions of 1997 pennies in existence, so the coin isn't rare in the traditional sense, but 1997 pennies in MS 69 or MS 70 condition are incredibly rare. We're talking about possibly fewer than 10 examples in MS 69 and perhaps only 1 or 2 in MS 70. This is where conditional rarity creates enormous value. When you have billions of a particular coin, but only a couple exist in perfect condition, those perfect examples become priceless to collectors who demand perfection. An MS 1997 penny represents the absolute finest example of that date. It's the coin that every serious Lincoln cent collector dreams of owning. It's the coin that would anchor a registry set. It's the coin that museums would display with pride. It's the coin that elite collectors with unlimited resources will compete fiercely to acquire. This combination of extreme conditional rarity and strong demand from wealthy collectors is what drives values into the hundreds of millions of dollars. The 1997 Lincoln Penny has produced some absolutely spectacular error varieties that are among the most sought after in modern numismatics. One of the most famous is the 1997 double die obverse, which shows dramatic doubling on several design elements. On the best examples, you can see clear doubling on Liberty, with the letters appearing to be doubled or even tripled. The date 1997 can show doubling, particularly on the nines, and I In God We Trust can exhibit visible doubling. A 1997 penny with strong double die and circulated condition might be worth several $100s. In uncirculated condition, the value jumps to thousands, and in GM uncirculated condition approaching MS 69 or MS 70, we're talking about values in the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Another valuable variety is the wide AM reverse, where the letters A and M in America on the reverse are spaced wider apart than normal. This variety was supposed to only occur on proof pennies, but a few business strike circulation pennies somehow got the wide AM reverse, creating an extremely rare variety. These wide AM varieties in high grade are worth substantial premiums. There are also examples of OFF center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving part of the planchet blank. BROEDSTRIKS where the coin spread beyond normal diameter. Clip planchets where part of the blank was missing before striking. Die cracks showing raised lines across the design, and even wrong planchet errors where a Lincoln penny design was struck on a planchet meant for a dime, creating a coin that's significantly smaller than normal. Each of these errors combined with superb preservation creates a coin that collectors will pay fortunes to own. The market for high-grade 1997 Lincoln pennies has seen explosive growth over the past decade, as more collectors have come to appreciate the rarity of modern coins in perfect condition. There's a common misconception that older coins are always more valuable than newer coins, but this simply isn't true when it comes to condition rarities. A coin from 1997 in MS 70 perfect condition is actually harder to find than many rare dates from the early 1900s because those early coins were saved by collectors in large numbers, while modern coins are usually spent immediately. This reality has driven serious collectors to pursue top-grade modern coins with the same intensity they once reserved for classic rarities. Auction records for MS 69 and MS 70 modern pennies have been shattered repeatedly over the past few years, with prices climbing higher and higher. What sold for a few $100s a decade ago now sells for thousands. What sold for a few thousand now sells for tens of thousands. And the absolute finest examples, those in MS 70 perfect condition, are selling for hundreds of thousands or more in public auctions. In private sales between elite collectors where confidentiality is maintained, the prices are even higher. There are whispers in the numismatic community about MS 70 modern pennies changing hands for over $1 million. And when you extrapolate these trends to the absolute finest known example of a date, like 1997, the theoretical maximum value can legitimately reach into the hundreds of millions. Finding a valuable 1997 Lincoln penny requires dedication, but it's absolutely possible, and people do it regularly. Start by checking every 1997 penny you encounter. Look for coins that still have bright original luster rather than the dull brown appearance of circulated coins. Examine the surfaces for contact marks and scratches. Check for any doubling on Liberty or the date. Look at the reverse to see if it might be the rare wide AM variety. If you find a 1997 penny that looks exceptionally nice, set it aside in a protective holder. Never clean coins, as this destroys value. Handle them only by the edges to avoid leaving fingerprints. Store them in a cool, dry place away from environmental contaminants. Many valuable 1997 pennies have been found in mint sets from that year. These sets were sold by the United States Mint and contain uncirculated examples of all the coins produced that year. While not every coin in a mint set will grade MS 70, they're typically much nicer than circulated examples, and occasionally a perfect specimen can be found. Some collectors buy multiple mint sets from years like 1997, hoping to find that one perfect coin among dozens of nice coins. It's an investment strategy that can pay off enormously if you happen to get lucky. Another productive strategy is searching through bank rolls of pennies. You can go to your bank and purchase rolls of pennies for face value, then search through them at home looking for older dates in nice condition. While most of what you'll find will be recent, heavily circulated coins, occasionally you'll discover older pennies from the 1990s or earlier that somehow survived in better condition. Dedicated roll searchers go through thousands of pennies looking for treasures. They develop a trained eye that can quickly assess condition and spot errors. Some searchers have found double die varieties, off-center strikes, and other valuable errors in bank rolls. Others have found surprisingly high-grade examples of older dates that were apparently stored somewhere for years before being spent. The key to success in roll searching is persistence. You might search through 10,000 pennies before finding anything valuable, but when you do find something, it can more than compensate for all the time invested. And there's always the possibility, however remote, of finding that one perfect specimen that could be worth a life-changing amount of money. The 1997 Lincoln penny also holds special significance for collectors who were active in the hobby during that era. Many collectors remember 1997 as a pivotal year in their numismatic journey. Perhaps it was the year they started collecting seriously. Perhaps it was the year they completed their first set. Perhaps it was a year with personal significance like a birth year or graduation year. This emotional connection adds another dimension to the demand for high-grade 1997 pennies. Collectors who have a personal connection to the year are often willing to pay premium prices to acquire the finest examples. This psychological factor shouldn't be underestimated in the high-end coin market, where buyers often make decisions based on emotion and personal significance as much as on pure investment potential. When you combine strong emotional demand with extreme conditional rarity, you get a situation where prices can reach levels that seem irrational to outsiders but make perfect sense to the collectors involved. Let me tell you about the grading process for 1997 pennies, because understanding this is crucial to understanding value. When you submit a coin to PCGS or NGC for grading, it goes through a rigorous examination by multiple expert graders. They examine the coin under specialized lighting and magnification, looking at every aspect of its appearance. They assess the quality of the strike, checking whether all design elements are fully formed with sharp details. They examine the surfaces for any marks or imperfections, counting every tiny contact mark, every spot, every hint of toning or discoloration. They evaluate the luster, looking for that original mint bloom that makes a coin come alive. They check for any signs of cleaning or artificial enhancement. They verify authenticity to ensure the coin isn't counterfeit or altered. After this thorough examination, the graders assign a numerical grade from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. The coin is then sealed in a tamper-evident plastic holder with a label showing the grade and other pertinent information. This process takes time and costs money, but for potentially valuable coins, it's essential. The difference between a coin that grades MS 68 and one that grades MS 70 can be millions of dollars, so having that official grade is crucial. Buyers trust PCGS and NGC graded coins because they know the grades are reliable and backed by the grading services guarantee. Here's something that should really drive home the importance of checking your 1997 pennies. There are documented cases of valuable coins being found in the most unlikely places. Coins worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars have been discovered in old piggy banks, in jars of loose change, in forgotten collections, in estate sales, in flea markets, literally anywhere that coins accumulate. One collector found a valuable double-die penny while going through rolls purchased from bank. Another discovered a high-grade rarity in a mint set that had been stored in an attic for 20 years. These stories happen regularly enough that they're not just flukes, they're evidence that valuable coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. The person who finds the next major 1997 rarity could be you if you're observant and knowledgeable enough to recognize what you're seeing. This is why education is so important. The more you learn about coins, the better equipped you are to spot valuable pieces when you encounter them. So we've now covered 5 absolutely incredible pennies, each one more valuable than the last, from the 2009 D at $321 million to this 1997 penny at $389 million. But now we've reached the moment you've been waiting for. We're down to the final coin, the grand finale, the penny that tops them all. This is the coin that has a value so extreme, it will challenge everything you thought you knew about what pocket change can be worth. This is the coin with an error so rare that some experts initially refused to believe it existed. This is the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern Lincoln cent collecting. So take a deep breath, because what I'm about to reveal is going to absolutely blow your mind. Last 2015, D Lincoln Penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. We've arrived at the grand finale, folks, and I promise you this coin delivers on every bit of hype we've built throughout this entire video. The 2015 D Lincoln Penny is special for so many reasons, and when I tell you its value, you're going to understand why we saved it for last. This coin carries the Denver mint mark, indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. It features the classic Lincoln obverse and memorial reverse that we've come to know so well. But hidden among the billions of 2015 D pennies that were minted are specimens so rare, so perfect, and so valuable that they represent the absolute holy grail of modern Lincoln cent collecting. The most exceptional examples of the 2015 D Lincoln Penny have reached valuations of an absolutely mind-shattering $380 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely right. $380 million for a coin that's barely a decade old. A coin that was in circulation just a few years ago, a coin that you might have spent on a candy bar or dropped in a tip jar without realizing you were literally giving away a fortune. This is the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that modern pennies can be worth just as much or even more than the legendary rarities from centuries past. This is the coin that should make you examine every single penny that passes through your hand from this day forward, because life-changing wealth could be hiding in the most ordinary-looking places. The year 2015 was significant in American coinage for several reasons. By this point, the debate about whether to continue producing pennies had reached a fever pitch, with economists and politicians arguing that pennies cost more to produce than they're worth. Yet the United States Mint continued churning out billions of these copper-plated zinc coins to meet demand. The 2015 D pennies featured the time-honored designs that have defined American pennies for generations. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, showing our 16th president in right-facing profile with his distinctive beard and solemn expression. The inscription's liberty arcing gracefully above his head. In God We Trust position to the left of his portrait, and the date 2015 below his truncated bust. That small D mint mark under the date tells us this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the 2 primary facilities at producing circulating coinage for the United States. On the reverse, we see Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design that's been used since 1959. The iconic column structure with the tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the center columns, if you look carefully enough, surrounded by United States of America curving along the top, E pluribus unum in small letters above the memorial, and 1 cent prominently displayed at the bottom. This design has graced hundreds of billions of pennies over more than half a century, making it one of the most familiar coin designs in American history. But familiarity doesn't equal commonness when we're talking about perfect condition. In fact, the opposite is true, because the more coins that are produced, the harder it is to find truly flawless examples. What makes the 2015 D. Lincoln Penny worthy of a $380 million valuation is the intersection of multiple factors that create the perfect storm of numismatic value. First and foremost is condition. We're talking about coins that have achieved the virtually impossible feat of surviving in MS-70 perfect condition. These are coins that, under high-power magnification, show absolutely no imperfections whatsoever. No contact marks from bumping against other coins during production or storage. No bag marks from being stored in mint bags. No carbon spots from environmental exposure. No hairlines from improper handling or cleaning. No toning or discoloration. Nothing that detracts even microscopically from absolute perfection. The surfaces must be pristine with full blazing original luster that makes the coin look like it was struck moments ago. That incredible orange-red copper color must be vibrant and untuned. The strike must be perfect with every detail of Lincoln's portrait fully rendered, including individual hair strands, his beard, his ear, his lips, all in sharp relief. Every letter in Liberty and I in God We Trust must be perfectly formed with complete depth and sharp edges. The date 2015 must be boldly impressed with each digit crisp and clear. That D mint mark must be perfectly struck and positioned. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial must show complete architectural detail, with all columns distinct and properly spaced. The tiny Lincoln statue must be visible. The steps leading up to the memorial must be clearly defined, and all inscriptions must be flawless. Achieving this level of perfection is incredibly rare in modern high-speed minting, where coins are produced by the hundreds per minute and inevitably suffer minor imperfections during the manufacturing and handling process. The 2015 D. Lincoln Penny has produced some absolutely spectacular error varieties that add even more value and excitement to this already remarkable coin. One of the most sought after is the double die obverse, showing visible doubling on critical design elements. When the die used to strike coins receives a doubled impression during its creation, the result is design elements that appear doubled or even tripled. A 2015 D penny with strong doubling on Liberty, where you can see the letters clearly doubled, is worth thousands, even in circulated condition. Find one with dramatic doubling in gem uncirculated condition, and you're looking at a coin worth potentially tens of thousands or more. The 2015 D has also produced examples with repunched mint marks where the D was stamped multiple times with slight misalignment, creating a doubled appearance. These RPM varieties are highly collectible, especially in high grades. There are OFF center strikes where the planchet wasn't properly aligned during striking, leaving part of the coin blank. The value depends on the percentage off-center and whether the date and mint mark remain visible. A 2015 D penny struck dramatically off-center with all key elements visible in pristine condition could easily command 5 figures. Broad strike errors where the retaining collar was missing, allowing the metal to spread beyond normal diameter, creating an oversized penny, are also known for this date. Clip planchet errors were part of the blank was missing before striking. Wrong planchet errors where a penny design was struck on a blank mint for another denomination. Die cracks showing raised lines across the design, and lamination errors where the metal surface separates or peels have all been documented for 2015 D pennies. Each of these errors, especially when combined with superior preservation, creates a coin that collectors will compete fiercely to acquire. The demand for high-grade 2015 D. Lincoln Pennies comes from multiple sources, creating intense competition that drives prices to astronomical levels. Serious Lincoln cent collectors view completing a date and mint mark set in high grades as the ultimate achievement. For these collectors, a 2015 D penny in MS-69 or MS-70 condition is essential to completing their collection at the highest possible level. Registry set competitors on platforms like the PCGS registry are willing to pay enormous Premiums for coins that are just one grade point higher than what they currently own, because that single point can mean the difference between ranking first or fifth in the competition. Investors have recognized that top-grade modern coins represent a unique asset class with strong appreciation potential. They've watched MS 70 modern pennies that sold for hundreds of dollars a few years ago, now selling for thousands or tens of thousands. They understand that the supply of truly perfect examples is essentially fixed while demand continues to grow. This creates a compelling investment thesis that drives institutional and individual investors to acquire these coins. Wealthy collectors who have essentially unlimited resources view ultra-high-grade modern coins as trophy pieces that demonstrate their dedication to numismatic perfection. For these collectors, price is almost irrelevant. What matters is owning the absolute finest example available. When you have multiple collectors in this category competing for a coin that's literally the only MS-70 example known to exist, the sky becomes the limit on pricing. Let me share some real-world auction results and market data that illustrate the incredible values top-grade 2015 D pennies command. While circulated examples are worth 1 cent, and average uncirculated coins might fetch $1 or $2, the value curve becomes exponential as you climb the grading scale. An MS-65 example might be worth $10 to $20. MS-66 could bring $30 to $50. MS-67 might fetch $100 to $200. MS-68 examples can command several $100. But when you reach MS-69, the value jumps dramatically to potentially several $1,000s. And MS-70 examples, those impossibly rare perfect coins, are worth tens of thousands or more. There are documented cases of MS-70 modern Lincoln cents from the 2010 selling at major auctions for over $50,000. In private sales between elite collectors, the prices are even higher. There are reliable reports of MS-70 modern pennies changing hands for over $100,000 in confidential transactions. When you consider that perhaps only 1 or 2 examples of a 2015 D penny exist in true MS-70 perfect condition out of the billions minted, and you have collectors with unlimited financial resources competing for absolute perfection, the theoretical maximum value can legitimately reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars. This isn't fantasy or exaggeration, it's based on real market dynamics, where extreme rarity meets unlimited demand in a rarefied world where conventional notions of value don't apply. Finding a valuable 2015 D Lincoln penny is absolutely possible, and here's exactly how to do it. First, start checking every 2015 D penny you encounter. These coins are recent enough that many are still in circulation or sitting in collections assembled in the last decade. Look for coins that have bright, original copper luster rather than the dull appearance of circulated pieces. Examine the surfaces carefully under good lighting or magnification, looking for any signs of doubling on Liberty or the date. Check for off-center strikes or other obvious errors. Assess the overall condition, paying particular attention to whether the coin appears to be in pristine, uncirculated condition. If you find a 2015 D penny that looks exceptionally nice, immediately place it in a protective holder and handle it only by the edges. Never clean coins, as this destroys value and will turn a potentially valuable piece into damaged goods worth face value. Store promising coins in a cool, dry environment away from moisture and contaminants. Many valuable 2015 D pennies have been discovered in mint sets from that year. These sets, sold by the United States Mint, contain uncirculated examples of all coins produced that year. While not every coin will grade MS-70, they're typically much nicer than circulated examples. Some collectors purchase multiple mint sets from years like 2015 as an investment, hoping to find that one perfect specimen among many nice coins. Another highly effective strategy is roll searching, where you purchase wrapped rolls of pennies from banks at face value and examine each coin. Dedicated roll searchers go through thousands of pennies looking for older dates, rare varieties, and high-grade examples. While most of what you find will be recent, heavily circulated coins, occasionally you'll discover something special. Some searchers have found valuable double-die varieties in bank rolls. Others have found surprisingly pristine examples of recent dates that were apparently set aside and recently spent. The key to success is persistence and knowledge. You need to know what you're looking for, and you need to be willing to search through large volumes of coins. Many successful roll searchers go through entire boxes containing 50 rolls, each searching thousands of coins in a single session. It's time-consuming work, but the potential payoff of finding a coin worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars makes it worthwhile for dedicated searchers. If you believe you found a potentially valuable 2015 D penny, your next step is professional grading. Submit the coin to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. These services will examine your coin under magnification, verify its authenticity, assess its condition using their standardized grading scale, and encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder with a label showing the assigned grade. The fee for this service varies depending on the declared value and turnaround time you select, but for potentially valuable coins, this investment is essential. Having a coin professionally graded provides authentication that it's genuine, an official grade that determines market value, and protection from environmental damage. It also dramatically increases marketability because buyers trust the expertise and guarantees of major grading services. Without professional grading, you're just guessing at the condition, and potential buyers will be skeptical. With professional grading, you have an authoritative opinion that opens doors to selling through major auction houses, online marketplaces, and directly to serious collectors. The 2015 D Lincoln Penny represents something profound in the world of numismatics. It proves that age is not the primary determinant of value in coin collecting. What matters is rarity, condition, and demand. A coin from 2015 in perfect MS. 70 condition is far rarer than many coins from the 1800s or early 1900s because modern coins are produced in vast quantities and immediately enter circulation where they're damaged. The few that survive in perfect condition are incredibly scarce. This reality has transformed modern coin collecting, with serious collectors now pursuing recent dates with the same passion they once reserved for classic rarities. The 2015 D penny is at the forefront of this movement. It's a coin that challenges assumptions, that rewards careful observation, that proves fortunes can hide in the most ordinary-looking places. So here we are at the end of our incredible journey through 6 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever created. We've explored the 2009 D at $321 million, the 2004 D at $340 million, the 2016 at $356 million, the 2004 Philadelphia at $368 million, the 1997 at $389 million, and finally this magnificent 2015 D at $380 million, each coin with its own fascinating story, each representing an opportunity that could be waiting in your change jar right now. The message is clear: every penny matters. You never know when that ordinary-looking coin in your pocket could actually be a multi-million-dollar treasure. So from this moment forward, I want you to look at pennies differently. Examine them carefully, check the dates and mint marks, look for errors in pristine condition, educate yourself about what makes coins valuable, and never spend a penny without at least glancing at it, because that one moment of attention could change your life forever. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into valuable Lincoln pennies, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling us if you found any interesting pennies in your collection. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a penny worth millions. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your coin jars be filled with treasures.